Hello and welcome back to Live Laugh Stuck, and we are back with Moosestuck. And oh my god, there is some more talking to do. These kids just keep wanting to talk to each other. They have so much to say. Moosey, how do you feel reading how much they have to say?
Is a lot.
It's a lot.
But Dave ended up not talking all that much this time.
Yeah, he tends to be the biggest perpetrator of perpetrator. I don't know how I say that. Perpetrator of it. And this time it was a rose, which I am excited to get to. But we have a bunch of different little groups. I kind of grouped them up by the groups. Also, we did. I should have been doing this from the very start, but now that we're at the end of Homestuck, let me say that we did pages 7561 to 7803. I can't believe I initially wanted to do this episode and then the last two episodes is all one chunk. This is so fucking
Mhm.
much.
Yeah. Because we had another split of conversations.
Yeah, this time we just didn't get to choose who we went. It was still linear.
I got tired of making different web pages or different pages and linking them.
It could be that, and it could just be like, here's a convention I've set up, but now you're not allowed to do the convention.
Hmm.
Both, you know, both.
Yeah.
But we start with Callie, Jane, and Jade. But they kind of get dropped from their fun little bed, and Jane wakes up, and then it is just Callie and Jade hanging out. But we see where Jane is. Jane is awake because Arqueus finished his shit, and now he's off to do other important shit, not hanging around these nerds. I did say Abra fiddling Dabra, you silly shoot nerds, because I love Arqueus so much.
I don't remember what he did to wake her up.
So he was like literally deprogramming
Uh,
because she had that tiara, the brainwashing tiara on.
mhm.
So he was, I guess, like there was some like he couldn't just like take it off and had to do some shit to remove it safely or something. And I think it's funny, like so this section deals a lot with who is real and who is not real and what timeline is real and not. And Roxy's whole like, okay, so you might have killed a Roxy, but you didn't kill me, so I don't remember it, so it's fine. And it's like, that's very fun. This is gonna be trauma for Jane to have later, right? Like Jane very much did kill her timeline's version of a Roxy, and just because there is a new Roxy here to replace the Roxy she killed doesn't stop her from remembering that she killed one of her best friends, you know?
Yeah. We we need a graph of like everybody and where they came from at this point.
Yeah, at least it's not too bad because we have John, Roxy, and Rose Sprite all came from John's original session, and now everyone else is from the retcon session.
Okay, so Rose Sprite is our Rose, like our original Rose.
Correct.
That's sad.
Yeah, yeah, because Jasper Sprite is also from the original session
Right.
and went and dug up Rose and prototyped her to bring Rose back.
Uh, Not creepy at all.
Not creepy, but you know, a cat says, "Hey, I want you back." So, and I don't know. I made so many little notes in this, but like John's referencing memes from Dave's comic that Rose doesn't even remember,
Mhm.
and it's just like, I mean, like John was there with Jade and Dave Sprite and Nana Sprite and everything, but I guess like not having a bunch of trolls to introduce you to a whole bunch of new memes just keeps you on the old ones, I guess.
Yeah, I do not remember any old comics. I mean, I know that there were comics, but I don't remember them.
Yeah. Nah, it's fine. I don't think I can't remember if you specifically did step away to go read Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff when it got linked, but we didn't do it as part of the podcast, I don't think.
I basically like looked at pages and then I didn't actually read any of it because it looked really dumb.
It is. I mean, but that was kind of the point of it. It is really dumb.
I already lived through the 2000s and the 2010s.
Yeah, that's what it is. They did have a Kickstarter just for a Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff book. So that's a thing that exists out there.
Mm,
Rose also saying hi John's hot mom because
mhm.
no one's immune. I love that Jane is just like universally hot according to everyone.
Mm,
Quick catch up of where everyone is. Jake is off doing shit with Tavros. Dirk and Dave are off in their own thing. Jade is asleep and being lugged off to somewhere safe with Kanaya and Carcat. I like that one of the euphemisms Roxy uses to talk about a ring is digit donut. I think that's funny.
yeah, you're just obscuring the name. Oh, so you mean a ring, huh?
Yeah. It's you gotta say it in some weird ways. And then yeah, John being like, I feel like I should be playing reunion bingo. Who will be next? My money is on the long-awaited, insanely poignant reunion between me and Casey the Salamander.
Yeah.
Maybe, you gotta have more reunions. There's still shit hasn't kicked off yet. There's still time.
Casey the Salamander is like the ultimate hero who rescues everybody and kills the bad guy at the very end, last
Yeah,
page.
Casey Casey the Salamander is the Deus Ex Machina
Yeah.
of Homestuck. And then we get Jasper's sprite. I'm so happy about Jasper's sprite. It's how do you feel about Jasper's sprite?
Before or after it became Jaspro's sprite
Sorry,
squared.
that's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying it very fast, but yeah, Jasper's
Oh, okay.
sprite.
Yeah, I was just hearing Jasper's sprite.
That's fine. I just edited my Gay Stuck episodes and I kept saying Jasper Sprite instead of Jaspro's Sprite. I just keep doing it. But yeah, go off.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Rose seems to like not our Rose, but new other alternative universe Rose doesn't seem to like it.
No, I feel like it's like imagine if there was an alt you
Yeah.
who is very cringe is dead 13-year-old. Well, like because this Rose isn't 13-year-old Rose, but it's like what I imagine if I did not lose any of my shame from when I was 13,
Yeah.
and just being around all your 16-year-old friends now, just saying everything that has ever been on your mind, just all the embarrassing shit.
No filter.
And it's also a cat,
Yeah.
which Roxy loves. Is like imagine you idolized your teen mom and now she fused with your dead cat.
Hmm.
Like it's wild shit. Speaking of alt versions, we get alt Calliope, who
Hmm.
is the one that predominated over Caliborn and was just in a session that she inherently couldn't win.
Sexism. Sexist session.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, like, aspectism, since
Hmm.
it was because she was a muse of space rather than a lord of time.
Yeah. Can a lord be a female? Would it be a lady of time?
That I feel is a whole fandom debate on which titles can be held by which gender, because in Homestuck they do say that there are some titles that are gendered, but it's also I'm pretty sure it's Calliope who says it. And then so there's the back and forth of like, well, Calliope is an alien that doesn't really like we use the terms male and female to describe her and Caliborn,
Hmm.
but it's not really the same genders that we would know him as. So it's entirely possible that she doesn't actually know what genders really are necessarily and how gender roles would fit because she explains later on in this that like she thought she knew a lot more than she actually did and there's a lot of stuff that she was wrong about.
Hmm.
So maybe not wrong about but just like missing the full picture on. So it really depends on who you ask. In the comic, I think someone in the comic would say that lords and muses are gender locked classes, but that doesn't mean that they're right. In the fandom, for the most part, from what I've seen, has pretty much disregarded gender locked classes for the most part. But lord and muse, maybe not. Maybe those still tend to be. I don't know.
That's kind of weird because I feel like Muse isn't, as far as I know, not gendered, but Lord is.
Yeah, I guess it's just when you think of like the muses, like
Mm,
what is it that Greek muses were all
yeah.
women. Yeah, I guess it's not inherently gendered. It just tends to be used in a gendered way from my recollection.
Mm.
But Lord is like a specifically gendered thing. But yeah, I mean, Homestuck wasn't initially created with the idea of non-binary people in mind, and now Hussey is like legitimately clown gender. So I'm sure they do not give a shit.
Yeah.
But I like alt Calliope, like fucking It's good to see you again. You are kind to believe that. How long has it been? There is no way to measure. Fucking mysterious ass.
Like,
Oh,
just me responding to a child talking to me.
yeah. Oh my god. We go on because we're in Echidna's lair in the memory with alt Calliope, where Calliope is talking to, talking to the alt selves are talking, and it's basically like, I'm the important person. You were just coming here to let me know that it's time for me to go do important person shit.
Mhm.
You go be a civilian and live your life and do whatever the fuck you want, but none of it is going to be important on the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
Which she might be weird about for like 2 seconds before Roxy comes and says, "You're alive now. You get to literally live your life."
This reminds me of an old adventure game called The Longest Journey. And so, like, spoilers for this game from the 90s, but at the end it turns out you're not going to save the world. This other dude is here, he's going to do the thing. You're free to go. And then, like, the sequel, she's like, fuck. I wasn't the hero.
Yeah. That's another thing that, like, this section that we read, and really the end of Homestuck, or the, I guess, depending on what you call the end of Homestuck, but this section of Homestuck is really kind of grappling with is who is a hero. What does it mean to be a hero? Thrust into the role? Do you have to accept the role? Maybe you like legitimately don't have a purpose on this grand scheme of things, but what does that mean for you? Is that a bad thing? Do you still
Mhm.
have meaning in your life without it? What does it mean to have meaning in your life? uh, uh Homestuck is very on the nose with these considerations. I feel like it has been more subtle about some of its theming, but the theming in this part of Homestuck feels very like taking the reader by the face and telling you what it is talking about.
Mhm.
I love that we both did, because we transfer from the scene of being in the dream Echidna's lair to being with Kanaya and Karkat in Echidna's lair, and we both wrote down "Snake Noises" by Toby Fox.
Yeah. Masterpiece.
It's like, you did it. You made snake noises, my guy. Good job. Snake Noises by Toby Fox. And yeah, it's dealing with again Karkat and Kanaya's purpose of Karkat feeling useless, like he serves no purpose without anything, and he never really has served a purpose. But now it's like, even though he's not a good fighter at all, he still wants to go risk his life alongside his friends. And Kanaya's like, haha, no, and knocks him out.
Mhm.
And I do love the little bit where, you know, Kanaya's talking about her purpose, about like motherhood, which I guess she picked up as a way to phrase it from Rose, how like space is about like propagation and not just like physical space.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh well, Karkat, what are you about? And he's like, blood. And she's like, oh, do you have any? He's like, besides in my veins, no. She's like, ah, okay.
Mhm.
But just thinking more of space as like not only propagation, but like passing a torch on, which is just very relevant to the Calliope and alt Calliope scene, sort of. And the idea that Karkat got the, like, because there's a denizen that's made for like the strongest, and he got one that was made for the weakest, even though
Mhm.
that is not like an official thing that we know exists. That is just his assumption.
Yeah.
And I don't know because I don't hear that. I mean, I don't hear a lot of denizen talks, so maybe that is talked about in denizen talk, and I don't hear about it. But the space thing I think is interesting as talking about it as an aspect, but it also does kind of feel kind of shoehorned in here last second, as like, we need to tie this all together really quick about space. So I
Yeah.
don't know how much is like, just something Hussey decided to put there, and how much like you can actually see the thematics of it from
Yeah.
a while.
Did Hussey write a class spec Bible before implementing?
Oh my god. So okay, so the thing is so there is a there's the official aspect quiz.
Mhm.
I don't know how much of a Bible had been written. There might be something where Hussey has said something somewhere at some time. Hussey has said a lot of shit over a lot of different places. So I do not have it memorized of what exactly they have like officially confirmed. So I don't know if there was an aspect Bible or a class spec Bible at any point in time. I believe so. The quiz was written by Aisha, so it was not written by Hussey,
Hmm.
but and I don't know if it said how much influence Hussey has, because the thing about this kind of modern time modern time and Homestuck feels like a weird sentence to say, but like the post canon of Homestuck with different people working on Homestuck besides Hussey, as far as the writing of it, like obviously like artists and musicians and everything have worked on Homestuck for basically since the beginning.
Yeah.
But as far as the writing, other people taking to making like the quizzes or the games or the epilogues and Homestuck 2 and everything, it is kind of intentionally obscured how much is strictly from like what Hussey had decided and Hussey had outlined and Hussey had written versus what they are kind of taking and running with and how much Hussey is approving of it or just trusting them to do their own thing. So I know I have recently discovered, and I'm very annoyed by the fact that the current iteration of the writing team does have some Hussey official lore. I think this was about classes and aspects. I'm gonna look like Boo Boo the Fool if I go back and look at where I talked about it. It was actually about something else besides classes and aspects, but I'm pretty sure it was about that. Like information that we as fans still do not have access to, but it has also been said that they might fuck around with the guide that Hussey has given them. So there may or may not be a full-fledged aspect class spec Bible out there. But also like I don't know when it got written, like if it got written for this team and Hussey was just still like winging it at this point or had a general idea. That's a very long-winded explanation of saying I don't know to your question.
Hmm.
um, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was just gonna use more words to summarize. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, because like I've been reading a bunch of Tolkien stuff lately for the first time, and I read through the
Oh
Silmarillion, and like,
gosh, yeah,
man, like I can see how, probably for like the Dragon Age world, there's like probably a Bible behind that of like, here's all the lore, and then we're building on top of that, and it's like, or
yeah.
you could wing it.
So there's definitely some winging it in the Dragon Age. I know. I'm pretty sure some of the writers have said that they've had to look at the wiki for Dragon Age stuff, which I think is very funny.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think there are some things that Hussey did have more of a Bible for how it was going to go, but I obviously not on the level of fucking fucking Tolkien, right?
Yeah,
Like definitely not that level of
it did not take Hussey
stuff.
20 years to make Homestuck.
No. Imagine if it did though. Imagine if they weren't just like drawing and releasing almost as soon as they were drawing, especially from the beginning.
Hmm.
Imagine a world where Hussey did just take 20 fucking years to sit down and actually like fully I mean it wouldn't be Homestuck, right? Like part of
Hmm.
Homestuck was that it was coming out live and interacting with the fans and changing based on the fans and based on the internet culture changing and everything like that. But as far as like for the lore and the world building,
Hmm.
that'd have been something. Yeah, Jaspers runs around. Yeah, Jaspros runs around and checks on everyone and calls Jane cookie tits, which I forgot about. And so this is so Jaspros mentions that she now has all memories of all other versions of Rose, and all versions of Jaspers, which is a whole other like flavor of things. But this is a term that will not come up until later, but this is Jaspros is Ultimate Rose now,
Hmm.
which is extremely interesting because we'll get into this more at another time, and we will get into this a lot more in an even further away time. But it's not like again, this is not a thing that I necessarily have my finger on the pulse of how people are talking about ultimate selves. But I was around for some of it, and I don't really remember people bringing up Jaspros as an ultimate self. It's usually someone else that they bring up as the first ultimate self, and I think it's neat. I think this has implications, and maybe it doesn't, and maybe I'm just like, you connected to things, you didn't. The meme, how it goes. You didn't connect shit. I connected them. Yeah, so Jasper Rose does have the memories of every alternate Rose.
Is there was it there in the text that how that happens?
It's uh I don't think really. It's just kind of like sprite squared. The fusion of the two sprites kind of made that happen, I think, is like because like the sprites have like weird spurb knowledge because they are meant to serve as like exposition guides to the game.
Mhm.
And I think it is somewhere along there that by the fusion of those like two sprites together. Listen, someone could probably say, actually, it clearly explained it in this sentence. But I think Jasperos was doing a lot of rambling, and one of those ramblings was saying that she had the knowledge of all other Rose timelines and all other Jasper's
By
timelines.
by combining 2 sprites, there was, like, a buffer overflow, and they were able to get unrestricted access to the memory of Spurb across all sessions.
Yeah, I mean, like you're not entirely wrong in that description of it. I would love that to be like the official explanation. I don't know if there is for these. I mean, I've already referenced it, but it does get explored again a little bit later on. But I don't know if that goes into any more detail than what we get here. It might. We'll see. And again, someone can come correct me of like, no, she very clearly explains it here, and you just didn't read it right or write it down or whatever. I was too busy writing down cookie tits.
Mhm.
Jaspers calls Jake dumb, which is rude. Brings up the Chekhov's unprototyped kernel, which he goes back and like mentions it to everyone. Terezi's like, yeah, she's just gonna bring Nepeta back, isn't she? Which is true. It's so like I love that they don't even try to like play around. I mean, Homestuck has done this a couple of times where it's like very clearly this is a thing. We're not going to pretend that you don't understand that this is the thing that is going to happen. This is the thing that's going to happen, and it has not happened yet, but it's very clearly the thing that's going to happen. Got to bring back the cat girl.
Mhm.
And then we get to the fake decision tree, which you copied. You must proceed through all of these options literally, one by one. You click the link below as usual. I feel like this and partially exists just to cockblock us on a lot of like starts to conversations that we want to hear more about and then stops. And I say that only because it starts out with Dave and Dirk and fucking nothing happens. They don't really get to talk yet. They just get to sit there and be awkward,
Mhm.
which they continue to do whenever we go back to them. But I love those two so much. And then we go back and introduce everyone to Calliope, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're so pretty." And Terezi's like, "Y'all are probably lying. Let me lick your face to tell you if you're pretty." Classic Terezi. Which I
And
do kind of get. It's like, you don't have to say that she's pretty. She has a skull for a face. That's fucking great.
yeah, that was her stance of, like, "If I had a skull for a face, I wouldn't be wanna be, over here being called pretty.
Yeah.
I'll be badass."
Yeah. It's so true though. I mean, you can be pretty and badass, but like, I get her point.
Mm.
Yeah, John's just so cute. I just love him being like, I don't know. He's so nice about everything. It's like you don't have to have a purpose in life, which is a talk he has to give both Calliope and Rose. Because I mean, with Rose, it's like there doesn't have to be like an alpha prime Rose anymore. Which I don't think she even like. I forget if she talks about it here about how like Jasperos does now have the knowledge of all the roses. So like maybe she is like the less rose now. And John says that's a bunch of bullshit. Who the fuck cares?
Mhm.
You're the rose. She's the rose. It's all fine. And I quoted, "First, Dave tells me human beings don't have arcs. And now you're telling me the culmination of an epic doesn't require the messianic archetype to return from the dead, thereby providing the key to everyone's salvation? I wonder what sturdy, time tested narrative construct Jade is going to debunk when she wakes up. Maybe she will lay waste to the notion of endgame ships? Carcat won't be happy about that." Okay, well, I guess that one was more about like Calliope not having a particular purpose and everything, even though she like did come back to life with a very special ring and has been like whispered about, like, we need to find Caliborn's sister in order to, like, do shit.
Hmm.
But yeah, I get Rose here. It's like, what do you mean this doesn't follow narrative prescriptions? And yeah, there are no endgame ships. I think if anything, they were ships that were inherently intended to not be endgame by Hussey, but I don't think there were any ships that were intended to be endgame.
By endgame, do you just mean that like they are the result at the end, or
No, endgame is like a build up to the end. So this was intended maybe not from the beginning, but from like early enough on that there was a lot of build up to get to that endgame ship. So like how in Avatar we thought that
Tara
Zutara
and
was going to be
Zuko?
endgame. Yeah, because like there felt like there was a lot of build up to that and then it ended up being Katara and Aang.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, like in How I Met Your Mother, the two media I use when I talk about ships, how Ted and Robin were intended to be endgame from minute one, but for a while it looked like Barney and Robin happened, and they were not. It was clear that they were not intended to be endgame, but it was a thing that was kind of a happy accident based on chemistry and writing and fans and everything. Yeah, Endgame is just like this was planned at some fairly early point to be the relationship at the end. So I don't remember. So we go to Vriska and Mina, and we have parentheses Vriska. Was she already parentheses Vriska?
I
This is our
don't remember. I
yeah.
I don't think so.
This was our first time seeing her after the retcon. I mean, like we saw her in
Yeah,
the in Vriska Graham, but we didn't like go talk to her until now, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I thought, like, it was made a point at some point that Friska was given her parentheses,
Oh, I don't know.
but it apparently was not. We just get back to her, with Mina, and she already has her parentheses, and I thought that was a bigger deal in this, but I think I'm mixing it up with something else, but, Mina does the very annoying thing of clearly being upset about something, and like, even if she doesn't realize exactly what she's upset about, it's still very annoying to have them, like, put off and not wanting to talk about being upset, but still very clearly being upset and wanting other people to pretend that it's fine, and it's like,
Mhm.
"No, I can't ignore this, and this is only going to get worse, and we both know it."
Yeah.
And then on parentheses, Vriska shows up and cock blocked again. Move on to Roxy and Callie getting philosophical on the nature of war and soldiers and civilians. And I think this is another reason that I talked about space a bit before is because we get another reminder or another mention of space about it being about propagation. And that feels like a very weird thing for Roxy to say, that Roxy had been sitting there meditating on what space could be and why having Calliope around could help. I would understand like her being like, hey, you know what? Like maybe actually you being around might help me like focus and meditate and stuff. And to get the egg.
Mhm.
But like using the word propagation and acting like, saying that she had like really sat down and like had all of these thoughts about the space aspect when there was not a space aspect user on in her group. Like Calliope, she knows, but I don't think she like maybe they talked about her being space before, but
Mhm.
it wasn't until pretty later on that she even like it wasn't until like they were almost in session before she really heard about like the aspects and stuff, I don't think. And it just this Kanaya talking about space and having some insight into it being about propagation, being that Kanaya's other focus is, you know, the troll species and getting that up and running again. It makes sense how she would sit and see some connections and think about it. It seems out of nowhere for Roxy to be thinking about this to this level of detail, you know?
Mhm. Just gotta focus really hard to meet the plot, meet the plot expectations.
I just don't feel like I feel it would be natural for like, hey, Callie, maybe space could help void stuff because space is about physical stuff and and I'm trying to create I don't know. I feel like there could have been some much more understandable explanation besides it seeming like Roxy had the exact same meditation as the actual space player who is trying to bring about her species again, But
Mhm.
maybe I'm just being picky. this is where I think it would be fun to have Dami on to be as a live producer interrupting me and telling me I'm fucking wrong about something. But I did forget that Callie was around to help, and I think that is really neat about like combining them in order to make the egg.
Mhm.
Jane Jane, John Jane Rose and Terezi. I love the quote. Friska says a lot of things. It's so true. And John commenting on Rose and Kanaya's relationship. Maybe that means it's a strong relationship if it can survive God. Whatever the hell happened, a hard 3-year reboot and then the sudden presence of Friska. Well, when you put it that way, it really does sound like you were trying to fuck us up. It's very good, but I do think it's interesting, and this is partially because I did just like remaster slash compile my Gaystuck series where I talked about the character specifically, and just pointing out that like John doesn't like blink and do a oh Rose, you like girls, and like that doesn't fuck with his worldview. He's just like, oh, what a cute relationship between Rose and Kanaya. But he like it very much seems to derail him figuring out that Dave likes boys now. And it's like, well, that's because John also likes boys, and seeing it happen to Dave, the one who was supposed to be the most heterosexual masculine of them all in a very cool guy 2000 sort of way,
Mhm.
just messes with his paradigm, while Rose being into girls does not mess with his paradigm in the same way.
Yeah.
But it's just me trying to get everyone to ship John Dave Cat, and that's really all it is. But Terezi's hardcore black flirting, which is just she's so on the nose about it, which is great. And just everyone in like John feeling worried for Dave because he's with Dirk, and just no one is Jane is there, but not giving the context that Dirk is not actually a terrible guy because Jane doesn't have the context for why anyone would be thinking that.
Mhm.
I really wish that we had gotten the Jane conversation where Jasper's takes Jane to go meet Nana Sprite.
Mhm.
I would have liked to see that. I can't remember if we do actually see that conversation or not, but I hope we do in the next section we read. And okay, so whenever the last several times I read Homestuck, I wasn't super pilled on the Roxy Calliope ship. Like, sorry, I'm a boy liker. I just don't notice as much girl ships as much. It's just how it is.
Mhm.
But on this one, whenever Roxy drops Calliope off at the place where Jade is staying, that's like out of the way of the fight and everything, they zoom out from what should just be a hug. Like they have some like panels that look like they're about to kiss, and then when they're actually saying goodbye, it just shows a zoom out of the whole island before zooming back in on Roxy leaving. Like,
Oh, I didn't really like think about that. Is it supposed to
yeah,
be like, oh, they kissed, but you can't see it?
I don't know. That's the thing, right? Is like like I said, I'm not as much in the Wallowa talks because I'm a Strider fucker. I'm a Strider man pain fan. But I know that Dami had one point brought up on like Roxy giving Calliope the ring as like heavy-handed symbolism of the relationship, which to me it just never read as, because like the ring served a functional purpose.
Yeah, I didn't detect that, but and I feel like they're too shy to be like kissing at this point.
Right, it does seem like that. It's just like it also just seems like a weird like why would you zoom out on I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. It just really feels like a weird place to zoom out.
Maybe Casey the salamander was hidden somewhere in the background.
It's so true. You're right, actually. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't think like it was intended that they kissed at that moment. I just think that it is more Calliope Roxy fodder, and I cannot remember what the ship name for that is. It's got to be something more fun than.
Epoxy.
No, that's fun actually. I'll keep that one. Calliopoxy sounds like an old
It sounds like a
disease.
building material.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool as hell though. And then Dirk and Dave. Dirk and Dave. My Dirk and Dave conversation. Do you know I like Dirk and Dave? Has that been apparent
Mhm.
yet? This conversation is so much of everything. Like, obviously, it's the first time Dirk and Dave are actually talking, besides them just being very awkward after Jasper's is there. But it's just like, oh my god, the fucking like self-loathing Dirk has for himself, and then this idea that the core of himself is malicious or evil or just like inherently flawed in a way that he can only do his best to fight against. Like he believes in the inherent goodness or evilness of someone from birth and he just got the evil
Mhm.
side is just what it really feels like in this. And it's just like I don't know, it's so tragic because it just feels like for a while the fandom like really did act like Dirk was just like unilaterally evil and was the one who was in the wrong in all of his relationships. Like Dirk says that like all of the blame in his relationship with Jake was on him when it very clear like we read the pages, Dirk, like we know it wasn't. Which
Mhm.
I mean, Dirk's 16. I mean, I can definitely see him coming to these
Yeah.
conclusions. It's just
This feels like trauma that Dirk would have if he had my dad.
yeah, that sucks. But yeah, it's just I don't know. It's sad to see him go through this like very clear self-loathing and this idea that he is inherently like toxic and destructive to everyone around him and that he needed Dave to tell him how terribly he was in an alternate timeline where he was possibly being poisoned by an evil puppet because his friends will only make excuses for him. It's like no, like just because there is an alternate universe like version of you who sucked because of like entire like extremely specific factors doesn't mean that people saying you are not an inherently bad person means that they're like taking it easy on you. Like holy shit, Dirk.
Mhm.
But it's like the bro lore conversation and the Lil Cal lore conversation. People who like Lil Cal, or especially like there are people who ship like Bro Cal, and they get like their food from this.
What's
Um,
ProCal?
Bro Cal, so
Oh,
like Bro
BroCal.
and Lil
Okay.
Cal, yeah. They're stronger
That's
people than me. I am
creepy.
fascinated by them.
Sorry.
Huh? No,
I
it's
was like,
creepy. Like
am I allowed to say that in a shipping society?
yeah, I they would agree with you. I like it's not one of those where like they write about it because it's romantic, right? It is very
Mhm.
much like put these guys in a jar and shake them. It is very much like with this thought that Dave put out there about how like we had a puppet with us that had the soul of Lord English inside of him, right? And how like it just emanated these terrible evil bad vibes like throughout Dave's childhood
Mhm.
and bro grew up with him since he was a baby. And so there's a lot of theories on like exactly how that could have affected bro and there's a lot of various types of fanfic. So it's like no, the bro Cal shippers do not typically like portray it as a healthy romantic thing. It is very often a creepy destructive thing.
So Lord English is my dad confirmed.
Yeah, learning English is your dad confirmed. Oh my god. But yeah, the hug is so cute. I love that little hug panel.
Mhm.
I mean it's multiple panels, but still, obviously me, the Strider fucker loves the panels in which they hug.
Mhm.
But yeah, Roxy and Kanaya, I love their entire interaction because Kanaya is funny. She's just so like deadpan about it that it doesn't always come across. But the whole like, hey, oh, let me guess, you're gonna say hey some more. What's that behind your back? It's for you. Is it a piece of paper that says hey on it? And like Roxy, like, no, 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 I need to start over and have that be the joke.
Mhm.
And then Kanaya saying the phrase blitzed our chakras is fucking wild. Who taught you the phrase blitzed your chakras? Do trolls have chakras or is Dave saying some shit?
Mhm.
It sounds like a thing Dave would say.
Yeah.
And this is entirely like self-indulgent for me to say in the fact that Roxy asked, "So are you and Rose? So you and Rose are girlfriends, right? Oh, so you are Rose's girlfriend, right? I don't know.
Mhm.
Is that what humans call a mate spirit when the mate spirit is a girl? I don't know. Is a mate spirit the thing trolls call each other when they are girlfriends or boyfriends with each other? And here's the thing. As I've said a couple of times, I literally just edited my the compilation of my gay stuck episodes in which I brought this line up and said it is so weird that Kanaya acts confused about this whenever back in Mina Quest ages and years and decades ago, Mina asked if they were girlfriends and Kanaya said yes. So either she only understands it whenever it's being said with a fish quirk, with a fish pun, or she knows what it is and Hussey forgot, or she is just fucking with Roxy and it is just never acknowledged.
Mhm.
So I said that in my episode, and I ended up cutting it out in the compilation because I'm like, no, like Kanaya says something about girlfriends again. So like I forgot because it was before I had read this, so I forgot this conversation happened. And no, this conversation happens. It hadn't gotten brought up besides that Mina thing where Kanaya said they were girlfriends, and I was just thinking of a fanfic, a very good fanfic that I like. There's a conversation between Kanaya and Dirk, and it was just written in such good Kanaya style that I mistook it for being part of canon when I was trying to remember Kanaya referring to herself and Rose as girlfriends. So I
Well,
cut that whole tangent out because I thought it was wrong, and I was right. But it's fine. It was a tangent. Whatever.
mhm,
The I don't know if this was an intentional reference, but Kanaya said, "I think Echidna was right. I think I'll need him." And Rocky says, "Who? Oh, nobody. Let's say it was a figure of speech." I feel is an intentional reference to Terezi's "you don't need him" thing, just the opposite, and maybe commenting on like the fandom argument over what it meant, if it was a figure of speech, if it was about someone specific, it was about all boys ever. I don't know.
mhm,
I could just be it's not that deep, bro. I could be too into the weeds of that. But yes, Kanaya is like, oh my god, egg, I don't want to fight.
mhm,
But she fights anyway because you can't propagate your race if you don't defeat the big bad.
mhm.
And Kanaya is a badass vampire, and
But Karkat's not allowed to.
Karkat's not allowed to because Karkat is not a badass vampire. Karkat, Karkat does need to be protected. He's soft and squishy. I have to legitimately take a second to read this just because Vriska has said so many times. Like your notes. Uncharacter developed Vriska, insulting dead Vriska, feels like alive Vriska is game bro. Or is a game bro that's raging about dead Vriska, looking like a blue-haired liberal, get woke, go broke mentality. It's so true though. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was just reminding me, which I think is kind of apt, but just the 2010s gamer bros. One, how they dressed,
Yeah.
because she was still wearing like a hoodie or something, like a jacket and t-shirt,
Yeah.
versus 2020s like blue-haired liberal, blah blah blah, shaved undercut thing, and
Yeah.
like these women's, they're not attractive to me anymore. They're dyeing their hair and cutting their hair.
Yeah, and like Vriska does call it like hipster trends at some point. And I don't know. I think this is just like such a wild fucking Vriska conversation. Like I think this is one of like the most I have hated things Vriska has said, which maybe shows where my priorities are because Vriska has said a lot of fucking terrible things to a lot of people. But I think this is just the worst because so much of it is just flat out wrong, or like you said, like game bro, go woke, go broke type shit. Because like it's not like she doesn't have, I don't want to say points, like they are good points, but points as in understandable for her character
Yeah,
about how like she is all about needing to do things and all about having to be relevant. And that is the whole reason the retcon needed to happen, is because Vriska is not allowed to go off and die and have character growth and learn to be happy.
yeah,
She has to, in order for things to go the way they need to go to defeat Lord English and everything, she needs to be an asshole who will work to get things done. And the idea of her not having that sort of purpose, for not being relevant, for her not trying to fight until the end is kind of, I forgot
like
how I started the sentence. I'll be fucking
she's
honest.
just insecure about like, oh, this one gets to be happy.
Yeah, and so she has to treat it like it's a bad thing, that like, or a selfish thing, that she would want to go off and be happy instead of trying to still save Paradox Space, even though like she was dead. All of their plans failed. The one of the people who was working with them fucking bailed. And I think what really gets me about this is Mina was one of the ones who stopped fucking caring first, and then Vriska just kind of followed along which is a problem with parentheses Vriska, is that she does kind of follow more of what Mina's saying than her own ideas. But like it wasn't, if I'm remembering correctly, it wasn't like Vriska's idea to stop caring about everything. It's just Mina got kind of despondent about everything, and Vriska did too. And they just went off and did a bunch of random stuff. And then Mina got bored with that.
Mhm.
And one of the things that really gets me about this is like Vriska says, you were selfish and tried to go off and fight Jack and you died for it. In parentheses, Vriska's like, wait, are you saying you didn't try to fight Jack? And, instead of, like, acknowledging that or really anything, like, kind of breezes past it, but, like, Vriska, you did go to try to fight Jack too. Like, you were this person up until Terezi saved your ass by having, John retcon it and punch you in the face so you would not go off and fight Jack. Like, this was not your you did not make the better choice in this. You made the exact same choice that you are criticizing this Vriska for making, and just acting like you were able to grow and do everything on your own instead of having the literal sense punched into you.
Mhm.
And I think that's just what really, I don't know. I think it's one of the main things that gets me out of this is just like just Vriska and character growth, and Vriska criticizing the character growth that she is seeing and like saying that it's not real or selfish or whatever, or saying that she personally grew as a character, which she did, but she also had to stop. Her character growth has to be stunted in order for her to still be able to do the things she needs to do to save the session. Like that is the tragedy of Vriska, is she does not to get to grow out of being a fucking asshole. And then yeah, just a terrible fucking breakup between Mina and parentheses Vriska.
Yeah, just mean as mean.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a bad person, so we have to break up because you are clearly not a bad person anymore.
Mm.
You want to be like happy and vulnerable and stuff, and I am not the person to deal with that with. And I could not imagine being broken up with while Vriska is watching. Just the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Imagine Vriska comes up, makes fun of you, and then your girlfriend dumps you to go run off of her. Just like truly, truly
Yeah.
owned. Also, just another. I'm reading back through my notes. Just another little thing is like, why did Vriska also have to be fat phobic? Why did Vriska also have to say, "Look, you've gained weight. You're she's dead. What do you mean she gained weight? What is she eating? How is she gaining
She
weight?"
has no corporeal form.
Right? Like, how could that physically happen? Like, I don't know. It's just like unnecessary, and it's stuff where like people like to say that this is hussy post woke, where like obviously the beginning had like the R slur, and Hussy has like, the older you get and things that Hussy has done, the more problematic and racist and ableist and everything it is.
Mhm.
And this is supposed to be like, this is towards the end of the comic where Hussy has like grown a lot, and Hussy doesn't do all the things that they did before. But it's like you still have to throw in some fat phobic jabs, and I don't think that was intended to be like, look at how awful Vriska is being. Like some of it definitely is, but I don't know. I don't feel like that. I don't know. I could be wrong. I might be projecting a lot onto what I think Hussey is thinking here, but it just seems wild. I don't want to say like any of this is necessarily out of character for Vriska to say and do, but it does
Mhm.
just feel like in direct contrast with, again. I think maybe it's supposed to be in direct contrast with what Vriska is saying that she is now, that she has grown as a person. From the 3 years on the meteor, from the retcon, from getting punched in the face by John,
Mhm.
and she's just like in a better character growth direction than what parentheses Vriska went through. And so maybe this, like her saying shit like this, is supposed to be in direct contrast with that. But I do, I guess, have a hard time just reading this and taking it out of the context of like fandom conversations from like a few years after that up until now, or at least a few years ago, where people were taking Vriska at her word about the character growth she had done and not acknowledging that she still did shit like this. So I guess it's hard for me to see that like whether Hussey did intend this to be like explicitly contradicting herself, and that explicitly no, she did not do the character growth, or I am just getting mixed up with fandom, like Vriska fans parentheses negative, not seeing that she didn't have the character growth and just having this like imagined idea of somehow a fusion between parentheses Vriska and a live Vriska in their head about who Vriska ended Homestuck as.
Yeah, maybe Vriska's just insecure about her weight, and so she lashed out at the other Vriska because she thought it would hurt her, just like
Yeah.
with everything else. But I don't know. I haven't really noticed any dialogue about loving your body shape when everyone is a tiny little dude.
Yeah, the body talk really only comes up whenever Caliborn was being extremely fat phobic to Jane in a fetishizing sort of way. Like fetishizing and negging and everything. It's just
Mhm,
like really the only like body image we get is that we know for sure that Jane is at least a little chubby, or at least chubby in comparison to the rest of the Alpha Kids,
mhm,
according to Caliborn. And I think maybe Roxy mentioned it at one point that Jane has cake. Get it? Because she
mhm.
bakes. But yeah, it hasn't really been a thing as far as I can tell outside of this. Oh yeah, with the her own like self, like maybe she's feeling fat, but it's also just like I think it's a similar thing with Rose is dealing with, where like
She's not the real Rose or something.
well, I mean, it might be like that. I was thinking more of like Rose is dealing with Jaspros, who has all of the cringiness and none of the shame of like what you would think of yourself from 13, even though this version
Mhm.
of Rose isn't like the 13-year-old Rose. That's just what when I think of 13-year-olds, I think of shit like that, like shit that
Yeah.
Jaspros says. And I think but this is like the Vriska who died was 13. And while I think that like being alive for, or existing in some form in the afterlife doesn't mean that you are stuck at that 13-year-old mindset, because I think if you exist for eternity, like some part of your brain does have to like mature a
Mhm.
little bit. But Vriska does like see her 13-year-old self who went in a different direction than she did, and just like, what is the meanest shit I could say to me at 13? Like, who is this
Yeah.
pathetic little 13-year-old in front of me, this cringy ass 13-year-old? Sorry, but like, my ass was cringy at 13. That's 13-year-olds. It's fine if you're
Yeah.
13. I Hi, hello, I don't know why you're listening. I forget that you're young and listening to this, but it's fine. You're allowed to be cringy. You're 13. This is not a dunk on you. If you're not
Mhm.
cringy at 13, when will you be? You know?
Yeah. If you don't get the cringe out now, you'll get the cringe out when you're an adult, and then it'll be even worse.
Right. Exactly. Like you gotta get that cringe out. You learn from getting that cringe out, and then you find some cringe to keep with you. And if you don't do
Mhm.
that, then you're denying yourself. But also when you're 16, your 13-year-old cringe is a death sentence.
Yeah. But also, you're also very cringe at 16.
Right. And part of that cringe is overreacting to the cringe from when you were 13, you know?
Mhm.
I might be getting too into the cringe inception here, but yeah, I mean, you're cringy at every age, and a few years from now, you're always going to look back and say that was some very cringy shit I just said and did.
Mhm.
Sometimes it happens 5 minutes from now, when you have a podcast. But yeah, so what a time to end it on. I forgot to check what page count we might be doing next time. I think we have maybe 2 episodes left, which is what I said the last time I tried to say how many episodes we had left, and it's doubled now. So who knows? I think maybe 2 left, but there might be some other long conversations I'm forgetting about. So,
And also Casey.
and also Casey, yeah, Casey has to come back and save the day, but that might be like a one panel thing.
Oh,
Um, just swoops in and just everything's good like magic.
yes. Casey and the mayor.
Yeah. Or it will be in a flash, which counts as 50 pages.
Mhm.
But oh, also I probably should have said this up at the top. I will be taking June off from episodes. So I think this is the last one you'll be listening to, because this will come out on the 15th. Okay, so you have the 15th and 29th. So and then I'll be taking June off from all of my podcasts. Friend Sim will still be coming out, because we're almost done with that. And then I will see you guys again in July, unless something terrible happens. That's catastrophizing. I just mean like Dommy will
No,
be
I'm
moving in
always
here.
I'm always like
Yeah.
that as well. I'm like, Yeah, I'll see you later, unless I die.
Unless I die, unless my apartment explodes. Listen, I don't know. I've had so much going on lately that I did not expect to be going on, which has made me late for shit, which is why, I had that filler episode this week. Actually, no. Sorry, I'm wrong. Because the episode just released today, as we're recording it, the 8th. So the next one will come out on the 22nd. So yeah, this episode will be the last you hear until July or longer out if my apartment explodes. But yeah, so I will maybe enjoy the time off. I hope you
Mhm.
all. I don't hope you enjoy the time off of my podcast. I hope you eagerly await it. I hope you're ravenous for the next episode of my podcast. I hope you join my Discord server and talk to me about how much you just can't wait for the next episode of this podcast. And maybe in the meantime, you take some time to go read my Dirk fic. It's called Bondless Prince, Bloodless Knight. It is over 70,000 words. So you have time. There'll be a month
Yeah.
off. You can read 70,000 words in a month. And maybe I'll actually have the next chapter uploaded by then that I'm currently writing now and is over double what the last chapter was because the last chapter was a short one.
Yeah.
So,
It's like
yeah,
me waiting for Rings of Power season 3 isn't coming out till like next year, and I'm like, fuck. I guess I'll just read all of Tolkien.
yeah. I mean, that is definitely something to occupy your time for a for a fucking year, just like above and beyond shit. So yeah, so read my fanfic. It's like legitimately so close to being done. I am getting close to the climax of the entire thing, and then the following action in the typical story structure. So like for real, my goal is to have this finished by the end of the year. So go read it. I guess I didn't intend to make this much of a point about you need to go read my Dirt Cat fic, but you do need to go read my Dirt Cat fic. There is a channel, I guess like a forum, whatever, dedicated to it in my Discord server, which I have my one very enthusiastic fan in there who, as far as I can tell, does not give a shit about anything else I do, just cares about the Dirt Cat fic, and I love them for it. But maybe you can go keep some company and ask some questions that I can give you answers to that don't have anything to do with like the actual plot, like what Solix is up to. Go read my Dirk fic, I guess. I've been trying to plug like, oh, maybe give me some money on Ko-fi because hosting costs and editing costs and just general like I live in a society or go read my fucking Dirt Cat fic. You're gonna have a month without me. You can do it. Anyway, that's it. Moosey, now that I have plugged stuff, one thing extensively, what plugs you got?
Just go to moosedy.itch.io or, well, I don't know if you have my YouTube linked. I haven't uploaded anything in a while, but I don't know, just go to moosedy.itch.io and play games.
Yeah, I have that, and I think I have your personal website linked, typically.
Yeah, I might do some more videos soon. I haven't done any videos this semester. I might play some more video games from the 1980s.
Cool shit. So yeah, go find Moosey on all the things that they just said and links and shit. And we will see you in July, unless you read my Dirk fic or maybe follow Friendsem, twitch.tv/Amberlin. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you to Dami for composing the theme song and editing the episode. You can find more of her work at soundcloud.com/dominothief. Shout out to our fakest fan tier supporters, Danny the Spoonlord and Tezrak. You can become a supporter and receive early episodes and bonus content for as little as $1 a month over at ko-fi.com/jaxyax, or simply give a one-time tip. For information on and links to my other projects, head over to jaxyax.com. Thanks again for listening.